Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're looking at Alembic Pharmaceuticals.
Sounds good.
It's November 7th, 2024,
Mm.
and they just put out their unaudited results for Q2 of fiscal year 25.
Okay.
We've got a lot of stuff to go through. We've got the investor presentation. We've got the financials.
Lots of numbers.
Yeah, a lot of numbers. So we're going to try to bring you up to speed quickly on how Alembic is doing.
And I think the interesting thing here is just how well they're doing, considering like the global pharma market is kind of all over the place right now. But Alembic is still managing to grow.
Yeah.
You know, they're seeing a 3% year-over-year revenue growth. That puts them at about $16.48 billion for this quarter.
Okay.
And their net profit margin is pretty healthy, sitting at 9.3%.
Solid numbers.
Yeah, solid numbers.
But I know you like to look beyond just the sort of like the big flashy numbers.
Right.
What is the story behind them?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, how are their different business segments performing?
Well, let's start with their bread and butter, their India branded business. Okay.
They saw a 6% jump in growth there, and that's being driven by some of their big name brands.
Okay.
You've got azithrol, the antibiotic,
Mm-hmm.
and Althrocin,
Okay.
another anti-infective that's very popular.
So these are like essential medicines?
Yeah, essential medicines. And you know what? Alembic actually holds the #1 spot
Wow.
in terms of market share for these types of medicines.
Okay.
So that tells you they've got a really, really strong foundation in the Indian market.
Makes sense. And it's not just humans they're catering to.
Right.
Their animal health business is also doing really well.
Hmm.
Up 13%.
Yeah, whopping 13%.
Wow.
And they're a big player in the hematinic and antibiotic market for animals.
Okay.
So it seems like they've got a good grasp on what people and their furry companions need.
Yeah, they're pets.
Exactly.
So they're doing well in India. What about internationally?
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Let's start with the U.S. Their U.S. generics segment.
Okay.
That's a really tough market to break into.
It is a tough market, but they're holding steady.
With a 5% increase. And this growth is being driven mainly by new product launches.
Okay.
And let me tell you, they have been busy on that front.
Okay.
Alembic has already snagged 214 approvals and launched 157 products in the U.S.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Wow.
They're serious about making more affordable medications available there.
It sounds like they're not just like playing in the U.S. market. They're like trying to be a real player.
They're going for it.
Yeah, what about the rest of the world or Row W segment?
Row is that doing as well?
Actually, Row W is where they're seeing the most impressive growth.
Wow.
A remarkable 18%.
Wow.
And this is fueled by strategic partnerships in Europe, Canada, Australia,
Right.
and they've even expanded into Chile.
So they really are thinking globally.
Oh, absolute global pharmaceutical chess.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
But I want to talk about their API business.
Go.
APIs are like the building blocks of medications, right?
Exactly. The active pharmaceutical ingredients.
Okay, so how is that segment doing? The API business. This is where things get a little more complex.
Good.
They actually saw a 15% decline in this segment.
Oh.
It's mostly due to pricing pressure and some lower demand from some customers.
Oh, so like there's less demand and also people want to pay less?
Exactly, a double whammy.
So what are they doing about it?
Well, even though they've had this setback, they're already taking steps to turn things around.
Nope.
For example, they filed a US DMF.
A DMS.
A drug master file. It's basically signaling their intention to manufacture and market a key ingredient in the U.S.
Okay.
Plus, they're planning to expand their capacity to meet future demand.
So they're not letting this setback like hold them back. They're like,
You're in it for the long haul.
yeah, it's like a chess game. They're like, well, we're going to take a step back here and then we're going to.
Exactly. Strategic retreat.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about the engine that drives all this growth. R&D.
Yeah, R&D.
Are they investing heavily in innovation?
Absolutely. They're consistently putting around 8% of their sales right back into R&D. And that's a pretty big commitment.
Yeah.
And you can see it paying off. Remember those 214 ANDA approvals and 157 product launches in the U.S.?
Yeah.
That's a direct result of their R&D efforts.
Yeah.
They're constantly working to bring new and affordable medications to the market.
That's a really good sign for a pharmaceutical company.
It is.
That they're not just looking at the short-term profits, but they're looking at the future.
Sustainable growth.
Yeah. But all this innovation focus is expensive.
It is.
So let's see if they've got the financial muscle to back it up.
Oh.
What does their debt-to-equity ratio look like?
It's actually very manageable.
Okay.
It sits at 0.20.
So not too much debt.
Nope. They're not overly reliant on debt to fuel their growth, which is always a good sign.
Yeah, less debt, less risk.
Exactly.
I like it. But what about their cash flow? Are they actually making money? I mean, are they generating cash from their operations?
Oh yeah, they're a cash-generating machine.
Okay.
Their cash flow from operations is very strong.
So that means they can like invest in all this stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. It gives them the flexibility to invest in things like R&D and, expanding their manufacturing capacity without having to constantly go back to the bank or go to investors.
Yeah, and borrow money.
Exactly. That financial independence is huge in a market like this.
Yeah, it gives them a lot of freedom to make strategic moves.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we saw that net profit margin was pretty good at like 9.3%.
Yeah.
But are there any other measures of profitability that can give us a good picture of how they're doing?
Definitely. We can look at their operating margin.
Okay.
This one just focuses on their core business activities. It excludes any one-time gains or losses.
Okay.
And Alembic's operating margin is a healthy 15.6%.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah, that means they're running a tight ship, managing their costs well, and generating solid profits from their main lines of business.
So they're not just growing, they're growing profitably.
Exactly.
But beyond just the numbers,
Yeah.
I always like to look at how companies are addressing their environmental and social impact.
Right, ESG.
Exactly, their ESG commitments.
Yeah.
So earlier we talked about those big goals. They've set like net zero emissions by 2040 and water neutrality by 2027.
Right, some pretty ambitious targets.
Yeah, but like what are they actually doing to get there?
Well, they've actually implemented some pretty impressive initiatives.
Oh, like what?
Well, for starters, they've commissioned a 12 W solar park in Gujarat
Wow.
that's going to generate a lot of clean energy.
Okay.
They've also developed a bunch of recharge wells to replenish groundwater.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they've planted a ton of trees to offset their carbon footprint.
So they're taking concrete steps.
They are. They're not just talking the talk.
Yeah, they're walking the walk.
Exactly. And beyond those initiatives, they're actively working to reduce their energy and water consumption across the board
Okay.
and lowering their greenhouse gas emissions in all their operations.
That's really encouraging to see.
It is.
It shows they're taking sustainability seriously. But what about the social and governance side of ESG? Are they taking those just as seriously?
Absolutely. They've got a really robust risk governance system in place. It's a 4-tier structure that involves everyone from the board of directors all the way down to the leadership team.
Wow, so everyone's involved.
Everyone, it ensures that they're identifying and managing risks effectively.
Okay.
They also have a strong governance structure and clear policies in place to guide their business conduct and ethical behavior.
So they've got a good framework for ethical business practices.
You do.
But it's not just about what happens within the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about their CSR initiatives? How are they engaging with the community and giving back?
Well, Alembic is super involved in various community development programs,
Okay.
especially in education and healthcare.
Okay.
They've got programs like Shiksha Setu and Vikas, which provide educational support to over 1,000 students.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. And they've established the Sneh Shakti Stitching Unit to empower women with vocational skills.
Okay.
And they also have a farmer empowerment program to support sustainable agricultural practices.
Wow, so they're really committed to making a positive impact.
They go above and beyond.
Yeah, it's good to see. Now I know Alembic's been around for a while.
A long while, over a century.
Wow. Yeah, their history goes back over a century, right? All the way back to 1907.
1907.
That's when the Amin family founded the company.
I think-
They've come a long way since then, transforming from a small pharma company to a global player.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how companies evolve over time. What were some of the key milestones that shaped Alembic's journey?
Well, in 2006, they made a big move. They acquired Dabur's Indian brands
Okay.
in key areas like cardiology, gastroenterology, and gynecology.
Okay.
This really boosted their product portfolio in the domestic market.
Okay.
And then in 2007, they achieved a major breakthrough. They got FDA approval for their formulation facility.
Okay. And that was important because
That paved the way for them to enter the U.S. generics market.
that's a huge deal.
It was a game changer.
Okay, so those were like pivotal moments for them.
But it's not just about acquisitions and approvals.
Yeah.
It's also about building up your internal capabilities,
Mhm.
especially in R&D.
Right.
So how has their R&D journey evolved over the years?
R&D has been crucial to their success.
Okay.
Back in 2009, they formed a joint venture called Ryzen.
Ryzen.
Yeah, and this was specifically for new chemical entity research.
Okay, so they're not just making generics, they're actually trying.
They're innovating.
Yeah.
And then in 2013, they launched their first new drug application with a partner.
Okay.
That was a big milestone for their R&D.
Yeah.
Since then, they've been steadily ramping up their ANDA filings and approvals. focusing on a whole range of dosage forms from oral solids to injectables, ophthalmics, even dermatological products.
So they've got a pretty diverse R&D pipeline.
They do a well-oiled machine.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
But their journey hasn't always been smooth sailing, right? What were some of the challenges they faced along the way?
Yeah.
And how do they overcome them?
Well, one notable challenge was the write-off of their investment in Alembic Pharmaceuticals back in 2019.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. This venture, which seemed promising initially, just didn't pan out.
Okay.
It led to a financial setback. But instead of letting it derail them, they merged Alior back into Alembic Pharma
Okay.
and continued to invest in other growth
So
initiatives.
they're resilient.
They are. They learn from their setbacks.
Yeah, but it's not just internal challenges. They also have to deal with external pressures,
Of course.
like global market conditions and all the changing regulations.
Right.
How have they handled those?
They've been pretty good at navigating those choppy waters.
Okay.
For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, they quickly adjusted their manufacturing operations
Okay.
to ensure they could keep supplying essential medicines.
So they were able to adapt.
They were very agile and committed to patients.
Yeah.
They've also tackled all sorts of regulatory hurdles,
Okay.
getting approvals for new facilities and product launches in these highly regulated markets.
So they're good at dealing with the red tape.
They are. They've mastered it.
Okay, so they've overcome a lot of challenges. But what about their future? What opportunities are they looking to capitalize on as they move forward?
Well, they've got their eyes on several promising avenues for growth.
Okay, like what?
Well, for starters, they're planning to expand their product portfolio in the U.S. generics market.
Okay.
That market's still got a lot of potential, even though it's competitive.
Yeah, okay.
They're also looking to strengthen their presence in emerging markets,
Okay, which one?
like Canada, South Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East.
So they're diversifying geographically.
Exactly, spreading their wings.
I like it. What other growth strategies are they pursuing?
Well, they're also keen on developing a specialty drug pipeline specifically for the Indian market.
Okay.
They see the growing need for specialized medications in India,
Okay.
and they want to be the ones to meet that demand.
So they're really thinking ahead.
They are always planning for the future.
Yeah, but beyond those specific strategies, what are some of the bigger trends that are shaping Alembic's future?
Well, one major trend is the increasing focus on biosimilars.
Biosimilars.
Yeah, these are basically similar versions of those really expensive biologic drugs.
Oh.
As patents for those biologic drugs start to expire,
Uh-huh.
the demand for more affordable biosimilars is gonna skyrocket.
So that's a big opportunity for companies like Alembic.
A huge opportunity.
So are they already doing anything in the biosimilar space?
Not publicly yet,
Okay.
but given their track record of innovation and their expertise in drug development, I wouldn't be surprised if they jumped in soon.
Yeah, that's something to watch out for.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift back to their current portfolio and talk about manufacturing.
Okay,
We know they have a strong presence in India,
right.
but do they have any manufacturing facilities outside of India?
That's a good question. They do.
They do.
They have a facility in New Jersey.
Okay.
It's part of their U.S. subsidiary Alembic Pharmaceuticals Inc.
Okay.
And that facility mainly focuses on oral solid dosage forms.
So having a U.S.-based facility is a good thing, right?
It's a big advantage. It streamlines their supply chain and gives them more control over their operations.
Okay, but let's go back to India for a second.
Back to their roots.
Yeah, what can you tell me about their manufacturing infrastructure there?
They've got a well-established network of facilities across India,
Okay.
strategically located in places like Gujarat and Telangana.
Okay.
And these facilities can handle a wide range of dosage forms,
Okay.
from oral solids to injectables, ophthalmics, dermatological products, you name it.
So it sounds like they've really invested in building a world-class manufacturing infrastructure.
Oh, absolutely. They've spared no expense.
Okay. But beyond the physical buildings and equipment,
Right.
what about quality, control, and compliance? The pharma industry is highly regulated.
It is, and Alembic takes quality and compliance extremely seriously.
Okay.
They have super rigorous quality management systems in place at all their manufacturing facilities.
Okay.
They make sure they adhere to all the international standards and regulatory guidelines, and they're constantly being audited by agencies like the US FDA.
So they're always being checked up on
Oh yeah, they're under the microscope.
to make sure everything is up to par.
Exactly, the highest standards of quality and safety.
That's good to know. But beyond just meeting those requirements, what about their approach to efficiency and cost management? Keeping costs down is really important in the generics market.
It's crucial, and Alembic is laser-focused on operational excellence and cost optimization.
Okay, how do they do that?
Well, they've implemented all sorts of initiatives, like lean manufacturing principles and automation.
Okay.
This helps streamline their processes, reduce waste, and improve their overall efficiency.
So they're trying to be as lean and mean as possible.
Exactly. Every penny counts.
Okay, now let's talk about the competition.
Uh-huh.
Who are Alembic's main rivals in this market?
Well, the generics market is super competitive.
Yeah.
Some of their biggest rivals are other Indian pharma giants, like Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Zydus Cadila,
Okay.
and they're also up against multinational companies like Teva and Mylan.
So they've got competition from all sides,
They do. It's a global battle.
but they seem to be holding their own.
They're strong competitors. What are some of their key competitive advantages?
Yeah. What sets them apart?
Well, one of their biggest strengths is their vertically integrated business model.
Vertically integrated, what does that mean?
It means they manufacture a lot of their own active pharmaceutical ingredients.
Okay.
This gives them a lot more control over their supply chain,
Yeah,
and it helps them manage their costs.
that makes sense, especially with all the supply chain issues we've been seeing lately.
Exactly. It gives them a lot of flexibility.
What other advantages do they have?
They also have a really diverse product portfolio.
Okay.
It spans a whole range of therapeutic areas and dosage forms.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket?
Nope, they're well diversified,
Okay.
and they have a great track record of regulatory approvals.
So they know how to navigate those complex systems.
We do, they're experts.
Okay, so they've built a really solid foundation. But looking ahead, what are some of the challenges they might face?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is the pricing pressure in the generics market.
Right, because it's so competitive.
Exactly. As more generic versions of drugs come out, the competition gets fiercer,
Yeah.
and that pushes prices down.
So they need to be really careful about their costs.
They do.
Yeah.
They need to stay lean and efficient.
What other headwinds do they see coming?
Another challenge is just the growing complexity of drug development,
Okay.
especially for those more complex generics and those biosimilars we talked about.
Right.
These types of drugs require sophisticated manufacturing processes, and they face a lot more scrutiny from regulators,
Okay.
and that can make development more expensive and take longer.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Nope, it's a tough business.
But beyond those industry-specific challenges, what about the broader economic picture? Are there any macroeconomic factors that could impact Alembic?
Well, the global economic outlook is a bit uncertain right now. We've got inflation on the rise, and there's talk of potential recessions in some key markets.
Right.
So these macroeconomic factors could definitely impact consumer spending on healthcare.
Yeah, people might cut back if things get tough,
Exactly. And that could lead to slower demand for pharmaceuticals.
including generics.
Right.
So it's a reminder that even a well-managed company like Alembic isn't immune to those bigger economic forces.
Nobody is immune to the global economy.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but are there any emerging trends that could create new opportunities for them?
Definitely. One very promising trend is the growing focus on personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine.
Yeah, this basically means tailoring treatments to each individual patient.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
It is. It takes into account their genetic makeup and other factors.
So it's not one size fits all anymore.
Exactly. It's all about customization.
But how could Alembic tap into this trend?
Well, this shift towards personalized medicine is driving demand for more targeted therapies.
Okay.
Things like specialty drugs and biosimilars.
Got it.
Alembic could use their R&D capabilities and their manufacturing expertise to develop and produce those therapies.
Okay.
And that would allow them to enter a high-growth market.
So they could sort of ride that wave of personalized medicine.
Exactly. They'd be at the forefront.
Okay, now let's talk about their investor relations for a minute.
Sure.
How do they communicate with their shareholders and the investment community?
They have a really good track record of transparency and shareholder engagement.
Okay.
They regularly publish detailed financial reports, they hold investor conferences, and they participate in all sorts of industry events.
So they keep everyone in the loop.
They do. They're very communicative.
Okay, what about their dividend policy? Do they share their profits with their shareholders?
Oh, yeah. They've consistently paid dividends over the years.
Okay.
In fact, they're known for having a pretty high dividend payout ratio.
So they give back a good chunk of their profits,
They do.
which is good for investors who are looking for income.
Exactly. It makes them an attractive option for those investors.
Okay. And what about their stock performance? How has their stock done recently?
It's been a little volatile,
Okay.
which is normal for the pharmaceutical industry.
Right.
It's been affected by a lot of things like market conditions, regulatory approvals, and the competition.
Okay.
But over the long term, their stock has generally trended upwards.
That's a good sign.
It is. It reflects their growth and profitability.
Okay, so it's a stock that might appeal to long-term investors.
Right. Those who are comfortable with some ups and downs.
Yeah, and who believe in the company's future.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
what's the main takeaway for potential investors who might be considering Alembic Pharmaceuticals?
I think Alembic offers a really compelling investment opportunity,
Okay.
especially for those who are interested in the growing generics market. They
Yeah.
have a strong track record of financial performance,
Right.
a solid manufacturing infrastructure,
Uh-huh.
a deep commitment to innovation,
Yeah,
and a genuine focus on sustainability.
that's a great summary. They've shown that they can adapt to change, navigate those regulations, and deliver value to their stakeholders.
They have. They're a force to be reckoned with.
Okay, we're going to take a quick pause here,
Just good.
but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to dive into some of the more nuanced aspects of Alembic's operations.
All right.
Those hidden gems that you might not see just from looking at the headlines.
I like it digging deeper.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Okay, we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into Alembic Pharmaceuticals. We've covered a lot of ground so far,
We have.
but I'm really excited to uncover those hidden gems you mentioned earlier.
All right, let's do it.
What stood out to you as we went through all this information?
Well, one thing that really caught my eye is Alembic's move into injectables.
Injectables.
Yeah, they've been quietly building up their capabilities in this segment, and I think it has huge growth potential.
Okay, so for people who might not know, injectables are those medications that are delivered through needles or catheters,
Mm.
right?
Exactly like those shots you get at the doctor's office or IV medications in the hospital.
Okay, so they're a really important part of healthcare.
Absolutely crucial.
But what makes injectables so promising for Alembic specifically?
Well, one big reason is that injectables often involve more complex formulations and manufacturing processes.
Okay, compared to like a pill.
Exactly. Pills are pretty straightforward to make, but injectables have to be sterile. They have to be the exact right concentration. There's a lot more to it.
So there's a higher bar to entry.
Exactly. It's not easy to just jump into the injectables market. You need the expertise and the facilities.
So Alembic is kind of moving into a more specialized market,
Right. And that means less competition.
which is good for business.
Absolutely. Less competition often translates to higher profit margins.
Okay, so it's a smart strategic move.
Yeah.
But haven't they already been involved in injectables for a while?
Yeah, they've been laying the groundwork for several years now.
Okay.
They have a dedicated injectables facility in Karkati, Gujarat.
Okay.
And that facility got US FDA approval back in 2019.
So they've got the green light.
Yep. They're all set to manufacture a wide range of injectable products. Vials, ampoules, pre-filled syringes, all the good stuff.
Okay, so the infrastructure is there. What about their product pipeline? What kind of injectable medications are they working on?
They're being very strategic about it.
Oh.
They're targeting both generic and more complex injectable products.
Okay.
And here's the really interesting part. They're also exploring opportunities in oncology injectables.
Oncology injectables, those are the medications used for cancer treatment, right?
Exactly. Chemotherapy drugs and other medications that are administered through injections.
So it's a critical area of healthcare with a huge need.
It is unfortunate.
And those medications can be so expensive.
They can be incredibly expensive, which is why it's so important to have companies like Alembic working to make them more affordable.
Yeah, so Alembic is taking on a big challenge here.
They are, but they're up for it. They've got the expertise in complex drug development and manufacturing.
Okay, so it sounds like they're making a real commitment to this area.
They see the potential to make a difference and to grow their business at the same time.
That's great to hear. Now let's talk about their international expansion strategy. We know they've been targeting specific regions like Canada, South Africa, and Latin America.
Right.
What's driving their focus on those particular markets?
Those regions often have a few things in common: growing populations, increasing healthcare needs, and a strong preference for generics because they're more affordable.
Okay, so it makes sense for Alembic to target those markets.
It does. Expanding into those regions allows them to diversify their revenue stream.
Right, so they're not relying on any one market.
Exactly. It's a good way to spread the risk, and it opens up a lot of opportunities for growth.
Okay, so they're thinking globally.
Yeah.
But how are they approaching these expansions? Do they set up their own subsidiaries, or do they partner with local companies?
They actually use a mix of strategies.
So,
It really depends on the specific dynamics of each market.
okay.
Sometimes they'll establish their own subsidiaries, especially if they want more control over sales and marketing.
Yeah, makes sense.
But other times they'll partner with local distributors.
Yeah.
Those distributors already have established networks and relationships in the market.
So they know the ins and outs.
Exactly. They can help Alembic navigate the local landscape.
So Alembic is being pretty flexible.
They're adapting their approach to each situation.
Okay, now with all this international expansion, how do they ensure consistent quality and compliance across all their different operations?
That's a great question, and it's something they take very seriously.
Yeah.
They have a centralized quality management system that governs all their operations no matter where they are in the world,
Okay.
and they do frequent internal audits.
Okay.
Plus, they bring in third-party auditors to make sure everyone is following the rules.
So they're not cutting any corners.
Nope, they're committed to meeting those international standards and regulatory requirements.
That's good to hear. Now let's zoom in on Latin America for a moment.
Okay.
We know they've already expanded into Chile.
Right.
What's their plan for getting further into the Latin American market?
Latin America is a big and diverse region, so
Yeah.
they're taking a phased approach.
Okay.
They're carefully choosing markets based on factors like growth potential, the regulatory environment, and the competition.
So they're being strategic?
They're not just rushing in blindly.
Yeah, that's a smart move.
Yeah.
Now, beyond just geographical expansion, are they looking at any new therapeutic areas or new technologies?
They're always on the lookout for new opportunities.
Okay.
One area that's getting a lot of attention these days is digital therapeutics.
Digital therapeutics, what's that?
These are basically software-based interventions that are clinically validated to help prevent, manage, or even treat medical conditions.
Okay, so instead of taking a pill or getting an injection,
Right.
you're using a software program or a mobile app.
Exactly. It's like having a virtual health coach right in your pocket.
So what are the advantages of that approach?
Well, digital therapeutics can be personalized to each patient. They can provide real-time monitoring and feedback,
Okay.
and they can help improve patient engagement.
Because people are already using their phones all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes it easier for them to stay on track with their treatment plans.
Okay. And these digital therapeutics are clinically validated.
Yes, they've been proven to be effective.
So is Alembic actively involved in developing these digital therapeutics?
They haven't made any public announcements yet,
Okay.
but they've always been open to new technologies and innovative approaches.
Yeah,
So I wouldn't be surprised if they started exploring this area soon.
that would be interesting to see. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into Alembic Pharmaceuticals,
Right.
what's the big takeaway for our listeners?
I think the main takeaway is that Alembic is a company that's constantly evolving and innovating.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to embrace new challenges, and they're committed to making a positive impact on healthcare.
And they've got the financial strength and the expertise to back it up.
Exactly. They're a force to be reckoned with.
All right, well, that concludes our deep dive into Alembic Pharmaceuticals. We hope you found this exploration insightful.
I hope so.
We always enjoy bringing you these deep dives into the world of business and finance.
Absolutely.
So until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep into the topics that matter to you.
See you next time.